Chris Berman. Let's get straight to the action. In our first game this week, we had the Texans edge their way to a narrow 3-point win. The Redskins won this contest, but will stay at the third place in the NFC East. In a long-standing NFC rivalry, we had the Saints win their 5th game of the season. The Giants drop yet another game and are really struggling on and off the field. Dolphins, Ravens. Struggle. Alan Ricard get up ahead of steam, and then it was clear sailing from there. The Ravens win this one by the final score of 13-0. Brad Johnson threw for over 200 yards and helped his Buccaneers beat the Cardinals. Right on the Mississippi River in St. Louis, we had the Rams edge their way to a narrow 3-point win. Down in Qualcomm Stadium, we had the Chargers very confidently win by 16. 49ers, Patriots. By Deion Branch came up with a huge play here as they cover a lot of real estate on this one. The Patriots go on to win this by the final score of 17-7. The Raiders' defense came away with 4 turnovers in their win at Oakland. We had a big injury in this one, and Trey has the lowdown for us. Trey?
All right, Chris, thanks. In front of you, we've got the AFC Infirmary Report. And as you can see, they were hit hard this week. Roosevelt Colvin is probably the one that most leaps out at you. A broken elbow is the culprit. He's out for the rest of the season. In front of you, we've got the NFC list. And as you can see, they could form their own mash unit. Kevin Barlow might be the biggest loss on this list. He'll be out for the rest of the regular season. On to the serious news of the week. Charles Woodson will miss the remainder of the season. So now that secondary is going to have to really come together if they're going to make up for his absence. So that'll do it for now. Boomer, back to you.
The Steelers lost their last game of the season on the road. Falcons, Seahawks. Bobby Ingram emerged as a real weapon as he pulled one in here. The Falcons win this one by the final score of 21-14. The Titans lost this one, but will still move to first place in the AFC South. The Eagles win yet again this week and keep their impressive streak alive. In a long-standing NFC rivalry, we had the Packers win their 9th game of the year. Colts, Broncos. Champ Bailey would come up with a huge play on special teams as he'd field a punt and bring it back the other way. The Broncos go on to win this by the final score of 28-10.
All right, Chris, thanks. All right, folks, our playoff picture has now been officially finalized. So let's take a look at it now, shall we? We'll begin with a look at the AFC. And now, checking things out over in the NFC playoff race. So the playoff matchups are set in stone, and we should have a few games that put the Wild into Wild Card Weekend. And that'll do it from here. Chris, let's send it back over to you.
And then there were 12, the playoffs, right around the corner, which means it's time for our regular season awards. But first, my primetime players. The final round of game balls go to these Warriors, each with a standout performance in the final game of the regular season. All right, as promised, here's a look at this year's best of the best, our season-ending NFL awards. Starvin' Marvin Harrison, without a doubt, is going to take home the hardware in this one. You see the numbers on your screen, but numbers really don't tell the whole story. Leadership, work ethic, love of the game, that's what truly makes him stand out. He had, without question, the best year of anyone. Anquan Bolden grabbed a lot of balls and now grabs the Offensive Player of the Year. We usually figure this award goes to a running back or QB, but I'll tell you, there was no one, that had better numbers than him, period. Roy Williams gets the nod as our Defensive Player of the Year, and I'll tell you what, there was no one better at taking quarterbacks and receivers alike completely out of their game. Great season. Roy Williams comes away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. Here's a guy that stepped in and demonstrated he belonged in this league almost from the get-go. He's got a heck of a bright future ahead. Sean Taylor is our Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's hard to think of another defensive back the last few years that's come in and made this type of impact. He'll be something special down the road. Amon Green ran away with the rushing title this year. Talk about a threat out of the backfield, my friends. Finesse, speed, a surprising amount of power, which he used to bowl over the few who actually managed to lay a finger on him. What a year. That'll do it, sports fans. I'm Chris Berman, and thanks so much for joining us here in the Bristol studios. We'll see you next week right here on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.